AD 2064. Planet Earth was on the brink of destruction.
Star Ocean: The Last Hope is the fourth game in the long-running RPG series, not counting spin-offs or remakes. The third game is still one of my favorite RPGs on the PlayStation 2, so naturally I had fairly high expectations for the sequel. Some of those expectations were met, others not so much. But before we get to the good and the bad, let's briefly talk about the aspects of the game that were just okay. Visually, The Last Hope is nothing special. Even when it was released, there were already a lot of games that looked a lot better, both on the 360 and the PS3. It's not a great looking game, but it's not a bad looking one either. When it comes to the design of the game, however, a lot of it depends on your personal taste. The characters look like they're from an anime, so whether you're going to like the designs or not is largely based on how you feel about that style. Otherwise, there isn't much to say about the visuals. They do their job, and that's about it. The soundtrack continues the path laid out by the visuals, as apart from a few standout tracks, most of the soundtrack is largely forgettable. The songs won't annoy you, but you're unlikely to remember any of them either. The story of the game starts in the aftermath of World War III, as most of the planet Earth has been rendered uninhabitable and the majority of the human population is dead. With the recently discovered warp drives enabling faster space travel, the goal of humanity is now to discover a new planet to inhabit. This is where the main characters come in, as they are part of this expedition to discover such a planet. During the course of the game, they naturally meet up with several other characters that end up joining them. The story is one of the better aspects of the game, as it contains various twists and turns that keep the player guessing throughout its duration, and as is common with games of the scope and Japanese RPGs in general, the initial mission eventually turns into a quest to save the whole galaxy from destruction. The story does have some pacing issues, creating a feeling that the game is just stretching its length artificially with some long parts where nothing of importance seems to be happening. Still, the story is quite well told and could have been even better if it hadn't been for the next aspect of the game. The characters, which are by far the weakest part in the game. All the main characters' personalities extend only as far as the cliché that they fill, from the silent, stoic warrior with a dark past to the female character whose only reason to exist is to provide fan service. At best, I can call some of the characters bland and forgettable, a description that fits maybe half of the characters. The rest range from annoying to downright infuriating. Star Ocean: The Last Hope still stands as the only game I've ever played where, as I met one of the female characters, I said to myself that I do not want anything to do with that character. So of course she became a permanent member of the group. The characters managed to ruin a lot of what would otherwise be an interesting story. Now it's constantly hampered by some of the worst characters I've seen in any video game in a long time. Not helping matters is the voice acting. The PS3 version, which I played, featured both an English and Japanese voiceover, a feature which I do think more games should have. Unfortunately, in this case, neither version is very good.
Huh? What's that?
Woo!
Ah!
Gotcha! Hey there, kid, it's nice to meet ya. You're Edge, right? Of course you are. You don't have to tell me.
The English voiceover ranges from decent to mind-numbingly awful. The Japanese version is overall slightly better, but it also features the single most annoying voice actor in the whole game, at least in my opinion. Still, if you have the option, use the Japanese voice actors as they do a bit more competent job than the English ones. If not, you can always mute the voice acting, I suppose. Fortunately, there is one aspect of the game that can carry the rest on its shoulders, and that is the combat system. The Last Hope features a similar battle system as previous games in the series. The battles take place in real time on a 3D battlefield, where the player can move freely during combat. Up to 4 characters can take part in battle at the same time, and characters can also be switched during battle. Apart from the characters' normal attacks, each one also has their own special abilities that can be chained together into a combo by assigning them to a specific button. Characters can learn new spells and abilities by leveling up, and these abilities can be improved by spending ability points on them. The game also introduces a beat system, which basically allows the player to assign the characters with one of the three beat systems that alters the character's level progression. I also need to mention the game's difficulty. There are several difficulty settings, some of which only unlock after completing the game on a lower difficulty, but even on the normal difficulty, many of the boss battles will really test your skills. There are several parts in the game where I had to just grind for levels in order to get past a difficult section, so while the battle system is fun, there were times when I got sick of it because of the excessive grinding I had to do. Still, it is by far the best aspect of the game, and one of the main reasons I kept playing the game even through the most annoying parts. Star Ocean: The Last Hope is a frustrating game to play. On one hand, the battle system is excellent and makes the game a lot of fun to play. But on the other hand, many of the characters manage to suck out all the enjoyment out of what is otherwise a fairly good and interesting story. The rest of the game sits somewhere in between. The visuals and soundtrack are decent, but leave no lasting impression. Ultimately, whether you're likely to enjoy this game depends on what aspect of the game is most important to you. If the story and characters is what you most look for in an RPG, then you might want to just skip this one. For me, the battle system was enough to warrant a single playthrough, but unlike Star Ocean 3, I doubt I'll ever play this one again.